It is a Netflix show. It's kind of related to the Jurassic World franchise, but it is called Camp Cretaceous. It's about a bunch of teenagers that end up going to Issa Nublar and going to where not Jurassic Park, well, Jurassic Park and Jurassic World are kind of in the same place. But they end up going there, and for different reasons. Some people one trip, some people are vloggers, and so they got to go. Some people's parents are just rich. But they are starting like a summer camp on Jurassic Park Island. And you can kind of guess how that goes because it's a Jurassic Park movie. So we already know kind of what happens. Uh, I haven't seen Dinosaur Train. I'll have to see it. Yes. But that was my plug for Camp Cretaceous. Great show. It's only like eight episodes, I think, but I definitely binge watched them this weekend. I did. And that's why I have a new Bumpy and why he also made it. He's now him and Blue hang out now. She's taking a nap. She fell in a hole and now her feet are twisted. So, 3-year-old kind of playing with her. But anywho, today, what we have going on, we are going to talk about the second part of our relative dating. I told you we are kind of breaking it up into two sections because it was kind of a lot to do. So we're going to do the second part today. Keep in mind, you do have your quiz tomorrow. Ed puzzles will also no longer be available after Sunday. Grades have been updated, so check them to see if you have any messages for me. I know some people were having share issues. Some people turned in the wrong thing, but just check your messages on your assignments for information from me, and we will still have our catch-up day. So, our question today is, and you're going to type your answer in our chat box, is the half-life of strontium is 25 years. How much strontium will remain after 50 years of the initial amount, if the initial amount is 4 grams? Type your answer in the chat box. All right, so I'm seeing some 1s, some 15s, some 0s, IDK, some 2s, some 0.5s. I got a little confused. I'm not sure. Thank you for being honest, because sometimes I'm not sure. You're just kind of not sure, and it's okay. All right, so let's kind of think through this. It said that half-life is 25 years. If you remember, when we were talking about half-lives on Tuesday, when we were talking about absolute dating, and we were talking about how when you need to do absolute dating, it usually works on fossils because they once were living, and it kind of goes through a process where you have certain isotopes that die off after whatever their half-life period is. So in this case, it is 25 years for our strontium. So if we started off with 4 grams, after 25 years, it goes through 1 half-life, and that means that we lose half of the isotopes that were there. So if we started with 4 and then we lost half of them, how many do we have after our first half-life? 2. Good job. All right, so, but it says that it took 50 years to make that happen. So that means that it has to go through 2 half-life cycles. So if we went from 4 to 2 in our first half-life, we have to divide the 2 in half to get our second half-life. So what is 2 divided in half? A bunch of 1s, right. So that's the answer. The answer should be 1. Does that clear it up for some people that were confused? Yes, 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 good. So the only thing you really have to remember is when you see half-life, you just have to remember to do half for each of the half-life segments. So half and half-life, hopefully that'll kind of work together for you. All right, so today we're going to talk about relative dating and how to read these diagrams. I know it kind of looks foreign right now, but by the end of this lesson, you will have it down pat, I promise. So these are our principles when it comes to our relative dating that we're going to use. We have superposition, which we kind of began talking about yesterday. We also have the original horizontality, and we have the law of cross-cutting relationships. And we're going to talk about both of those today. We're going to watch this video that talks to us about relative and rock dating. I know I just kind of told you the answer for that, absolute is going to give us an actual number, whereas relative is just going to give us kind of a ballpark and tell us, something is older or something is younger than the counterparts. It's not going to give us an actual number. So we're going to watch this video and it's going to show you how we decipher some of these diagrams. I want you to pay attention to what he is saying, especially about those fault lines. All right? Right, so I hope with the video we saw the differences within those rock layers. So we're going to take some time today to kind of talk about the images that go with this. Just as a review, remember that the law of superposition says that the oldest rock layers are at the bottom and the younger ones are on the top. That's the case in all of our relative dating arenas. With the law of original horizontality, pretty much what he was saying is most of our rock is going to form in layers that go across. Most of them go across like this. But over time, if there's some folding or some tilting from earthquakes and landslides and all kinds of different stuff, sometimes it tilts it and kind of moves it in a different direction. But they all originally started off that way. And here's a picture of it that kind of shows you how some of them can tilt and move. And we also looked at some other pictures yesterday. Last, we have that law of cross-cutting relationships, which says we have all of these different rock layers that existed. You can tell from this one that it used to be one layer that went across, but then a fault line happened and it kind of divided our rock and kind of slid one side of it down. But this igneous intrusion that they're talking about right here, this little piece of rock that kind of went through our other rock layers, the other layers had to have been there first before this could even go through. So that's what it's talking about with cross-cutting relationships. Now comes the fun part. You very well may see some diagrams like this on your quiz that you're taking tomorrow. We will be having a test over everything that we kind of did this quarter towards the end of the quarter. It's still a few weeks away. You may even have a picture like this on your EOGs. I'm going to show you today how we can figure out what exactly is in the picture and answer questions based off the pictures. So if we look at this first one, we know because of the law of superposition that all of the rock that's on the bottom is going to be older than the rock that is on the top. However, if you have rock that cuts through the old and the younger rock, then this is going to be the youngest because, like we said, this rock had to have already been there to make this to allow this rock to go through, and that's what cross-cutting relationship says. So if we are using just strictly the law of superposition, which rock layer is the oldest? Which one is the oldest? Our options are sand, gravel, clay, and limestone. Type it in the chat box. Which one is the oldest? Sand, gravel, clay, or limestone? I know that picture is a little bit blurry. Right. A lot of us are getting it right. It is the limestone, and that is because it is the bottom layer. It is on the furthest one at the bottom. So the youngest one is going to be which one? That's correct. The youngest one is going to be the sand because it is the one that is on top. Once again, this is the law of superposition that tells you that the oldest is at the bottom, youngest is at the top. So next we have this whole cross-cutting relationships, and we have to use the picture to figure out the order of these rocks. So in your chat box, I need you to tell me the order of the numbers from oldest to youngest. Oldest to youngest, what do you think they are? Alrighty, I'm seeing a bunch of different ones. Number 4 is giving me trouble. Okay. So I see some 1, 2, 3, 4, 5s. I see some 1, 2, 3, 5, 4s. I see some. That's mostly what I see. All right, so we all know, and I think we're all in agreement that these are the first 3 layers. This one is the oldest, then comes this one, then comes this one. Where the confusion is coming is the 5 or the 4. Now, if I'm looking at this diagram, I see that 4 goes through 1, 2, and 3, but it does not go through 5 at all. So I would assume that this happened, 1, 2, 3, and went through 1, 2, 3, and then a new rock layer formed on top of it, which is why this doesn't go through there. That could be very wrong. However, when you look at these diagrams, assume that if it doesn't go through another layer, that this other layer was probably laid on top of it after this cut through. So my answer would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. All right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. All right, that takes us to pictures like this. Don't let your head explode. It'll be okay. Don't let it explode. All right, so if we are looking at pictures like this one, me personally, when I first look at the, too late, don't explode, just go with me, all right? If I'm looking at pictures like this, there's a few things that I can remember. First of all, I know that the rocks at the bottom are older than the rocks at the top. So I know that these rocks down here are going to be older than these rocks up here. I also know that if a rock layer goes through another rock, then it had to have already, the rock around it had to have already been there before it went through. So those things I already know. So looking at this diagram, and it's very busy, trust me, I get it. I'm seeing I have rock over here, I have some rock over here, I have rock over here, I have this line right here, this is labeled with an A, this is labeled with a 6, a 1, and then I have this line that goes up into up here in between. So I have to figure out what happened first and the order it went through. This is kind of like what we did yesterday with the whole whodunit thing, where you guys had to look at the tracks and figure out which one was stacked on top of each other. It's like that. So when you look at this, we know that this is older than this. So we know that the stuff down here had to have happened before this stuff happens. Do I know beyond a shadow of a doubt if it was 5 or if it was 4? No, I do not. I know that it had to be one of the two of them. 5 and 4 had to happen pretty much around the same time, because if you look at the separations of our rock, they look kind of similar. But then I also see this number 2 going on down here. This part actually kind of looks like number 2. So I would assume that this number 2 and this piece right here are kind of the same thing. So knowing what I know about rocks, I know that all of the rest of this would have had to have been there for this to even be able to be possible. So if I had to date this or go in an order, I would say it was probably 5/4 or 4/5, however you want to do it. That had to have happened first. Then 2 happened. Because 2, notice this, it doesn't go up here in this part at all. So 2 had to have happened next. But then I know that they're shifted and they're off center. Part of this 2 is up here, and then part of this 2 is down here. And then I see this line that goes in between. This line right here is what is called a fault line. A lot of times that is what's going on where you have those tectonic plates that move, usually cause earthquakes or landslides and all those different things. That kind of happens right there. But because these 2 are not connected, I have to assume that these 2 things happened before this happened. And when the slide happened, it slid the part of this that was over here down, is the assumption that I kind of have to make. Because you see how you got this little sideways mark, that sideways mark, then you have the brick right here, and then you have the brick right here. So I have to assume that all of this over here got shifted down some kind of way because of this fault line. All right, so to recap, I think it's 5/4 or 4/5, whichever way you want to go, and then 2, and then B. Then I think that A happens because of nothing really kind of down here going through A, and that's followed by 6 because that comes next, then 1, and then whatever this is that doesn't have a label. I think 3 is the very last thing that happened because 3 goes through all of it. So if it goes through all of it, it has to be the youngest thing there. All right? Makes sense? Kind of? A little bit? Are our brains exploding? A little bit explosions. Okay. A little bit of explosions. Okay. I could take a little bit of explosion. I could deal with a little bit of backlash. All right. So we're going to go to Canvas. My brain went to space. Okay. I need to bring the brain. We need to bring the brain back. All right. Let's go to Canvas. I'm going to help you through some of this, and hopefully it'll explain it a little bit better. Now you see why we didn't do all this in one day? It's a lot. It really is. So you got to break it up sometimes. It's okay. You do have a brain. Don't do that. You guys make my day. All right, let me know when we're ready, when we're seeing good old Robert Downey Jr. Y'all know I love Iron Man. Anytime I can get an Iron Man meme in there, I'm good to go. I know. Poor Iron Man. Spoiler alert for those of you that haven't seen Endgame. It's sad. I did too. I cried in Endgame too. I did. I was so invested. To be honest, I kind of cried at the end of Infinity War. So I was like, no. Part of that was I was upset because I had to wait so long for Endgame to happen, and I was like on pins and needle, like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? But Cap is definitely old. But I think it makes way for new superheroes because they're about to start that new phase in Marvel. I don't know what they're going to do now that Chadwick Boseman is no longer with us and what they're going to do with T'Challa. I really, really hope that they allow Shuri to take up the mantles is really what I hope happens. And that's the only thing that makes sense in the storyline because he didn't have any brothers, kids, nobody. It was just her. So I hope that she becomes the new Black Panther, which would be a completely different spin from anything that has ever been done. But I don't know. We'll see. I just hope they don't recast because I hate when, you know how like you get used to one character and they recast the character and it's somebody else and it's just like, yeah. Sometimes it works for the better because they did recast Hulk. And I do like the Hulk that they have now compared to the one that was in the Hulk, that standalone movie that they did in the beginning of the MCU. I didn't like that guy. But, you know, how did we get on Captain America? Oh, RDJ. That's how that happened. I told you, the side, it happens. It happens a lot. I know. I miss Natasha too. I'm definitely a Black Widow fan, though. Definitely a Black Widow fan. But yeah, their demise, it was just gut wrenching at times. Anywho, so we're going to click here. We're going to go ahead and open our document. I'm going to make a copy so we can open it. Yes, we already knew I was a nerd. We knew that. You're late. If you're just not figuring that I'm a nerd, you haven't been paying attention. All right, so from here, we have 3 things that we are going to do today. One of them, the bottom one, is review games that go to quizzes, not Quizlet. It's like this questions, quiz style questions to get you ready for your quiz tomorrow. You can click there. It's set to independent pace, so that way you can still play against each other, but kind of do it at your own pace. When you get finished, we're going to take a screenshot and we are going to insert it there. As far as step 1, it involves a Venn diagram that we're going to do. So if you click here, it's going to force you to make a copy. It is one of those drag and drop activities, very similar to what we did for that rock cycle when we had to label the rock cycle. We do have a Venn diagram. So we are just going to drag our Venn diagram pieces over to where they go in the bubble. So if we are looking at absolute versus relative dating, let's move these first so we can kind of help us figure things out. Which one is an exact age? Is it absolute or relative? Which one is an exact age? Absolute. Good job. And you can put it on top if you want to kind of help you. So that means that the estimate age is which one? Relative. Good job. All right, and all you're going to do is just take your examples that are over here and you're going to drag them into the places and where they go in our dating model. I will tell you that there are some that do go in the middle, but we're going to drag them where they need to be. I will tell you where this one goes because we didn't really talk about that too much, is uniformitarianism. It does go as relative age, but we didn't talk about it a lot. So just know that it does go right there. All right, and then the rest of them, I believe you should be able to figure out. And so you are going to drag and drop them and put them where they need to go. Now, what we are going to do as before we even do that, we're going to insert this diagram, and we're going to do this together, just in case you don't quite finish this right now, because we're about to go over that diagram, because some people said they're a little bit fuzzy, so that way we're no longer fuzzy. We're going to change the share settings to allow everyone in CMS to actually see this document. We can change it to viewer. We are going to copy this link. Then we're going to go to our assignment, and where it says insert JPEG, instead of a JPEG, we are going to put a share link. And it's right there and ready to go. This way, as you go back, because we're going to go on to this section so I can let you guys kind of self-pace and work on it. When you are done with this, you can choose to go ahead and insert your JPEG like we did the last time. I'll show you how to do that again just in case you're ready to do the JPEG. But in the event that the JPEG part is hard for you to do, if you do it this way, then your share link is already there, and I can just click on it when you turn it in and still see your diagram. All right, but if you are, when you're finished with it, if you're going to want to put your diagram in there, the way you access it, and the directions are right here, you're going to go to File, you're going to go to Download, and then you're going to go to JPEG. If you are on a computer like I'm on, the JPEG is going to pop up down here. If you are on a Chromebook, it's going to pop up at the bottom and it's going to say copy to clipboard. If you click the copy to clipboard button, it will copy to your clipboard, and all you have to do is click in the box and press Control V on your keyboard, or hit paste, and it'll automatically paste in there for you. If not, and you have a computer like me that is not a Chromebook, then you have to actually download it to your computer so that way you can put it in your document. So now that I've downloaded it here, I'm going to come back to my document. I'll press enter, so it's not right there. I'm going to go to Insert. I'm going to go to Image, and then I'm going to go to Upload from Computer. And then it's right there, ready for me to go. I'm going to insert my picture, and it's right there. The other option, like I said, is you can put it right here. When I go to check your paper, all I have to do is click on the link, and it will open, for me, the same way it is opening, like that. All right, so the link is probably going to be the easier way. You can do it either way, up to you. I know some people kind of forget to go back in and do that, and then they would only have this in here, and they would lose points because it is not complete. So if you put the link in there, once you're finished with the link and you turn, once you're finished with the drawing and you turn the assignment in, it will show me whatever you have set for that drawing. So wherever you have your stuff, that's where it will end up. All right, so let's move on to the practice so that way we can get some brains back on this side of our planet. So hopefully they won't be exploding anymore. Me personally, I like my stuff to kind of stand out, so I might make it bold, I might underline it. Y'all know my favorite color is purple, so I'm going to change my font color to purple so it'll stand out and be bright purple. All right, so it says, is rock letter A younger or older than the other rocks? Here's rock layer A. Is it older or younger than the other rocks? Which one? Older or younger? I'm seeing a bunch of youngers pop up in the chat box. So I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to say it is going to be younger than those other rock layers. But then it also says what evidence explains your answers. This is what a lot of people do. They'll just type younger and keep it moving. You will lose points because you didn't answer the whole question. The question also asks you what evidence explains your answer. So what is it about this that makes you think that this is younger than all of the rest of these rock layers? Right. Good job. It is younger because it goes through the other rock layers. All right. That's what you put. It is younger because it goes through the other rock layers. That explains my reasoning. Some people put it overlaps the other rocks. Yeah, that works too. All right, so then the next question, it says, is the fault, meaning the dotted line labeled L, this one right here, is the fault older or younger than layer D? So is this line right here older or younger than this layer? So older or younger? All right. Change my colors. Maybe we'll go to different color purple. Ooh, that's a nice purple. Oh no, that's gonna look black. I'll just stick with the same color. I'm seeing a lot of people type older. I do agree with you, but why? Because it does say explain your answer. Why is it older? Because letter D is on top of the fault line. Correct. Letter D is on top of the fault line. Is correct. Alrighty, and here comes everybody's favorite question today. Sarcasm. All right, it says list the rock layers in order from oldest to youngest. All right, so here comes the fun part. Which rock layer is the oldest in this diagram? This always trips everybody. It's been happening all day. Yay, we got it. It is E. Good job. So E is the first rock layer. Then what comes after E? F, correct. Good job. Then what comes after F? G, good job. Next, H. Next, I. Okay. Next, J. Now what comes next? I'm seeing all kinds of letters pop up. I'm seeing some D's, some L's, some A's, some K's, some more D's, some A's. All of that. All right, so let's look at it. If it's me and I'm interpreting this diagram, I know that rock layers usually go, when they're laid, get laid sideways, right? Kind of like these right here. But because these are doing this little curvy hokey pokey thing, something had to change and move it. All right, which is going to be our fault line, which is letter L. All right, L is next. Now, the reason why I said L is next and not A is for a few reasons. One, unlike this picture that was here, remember how we talked about how this layer and this layer kind of look the same, but they're not in the same places and they're not connected. And that's why I thought this fault line happened after this was formed. That is not the case, and that is not the case here. This is all one continuous thing. So that's why I think that the fault line happened before all of that happened, because it cut through all of this rock, that rock, and got all the way up there. All right, so I think that L happened next, and after L happened, we had K. All right, I think that K happened over here. Bryson pointed out a really good point that K actually goes under A, so it would have had to have been there first. All right, so K went next, but because of that whole law of horizontality, we also know that the other rock layers that A goes through had to have been there first. So after K, what comes next? D. D is correct. Then what? Then C. Good job. Then what? Then A. Good job. And then finally B. Now, these diagrams aren't 100% correct. However, if it's me reading this, I think that this happened before B went on there. It could also be that A just didn't cut all the way through B. So B might have been there first, but we don't know that. So we assume that because it stops in the middle of C, that B wasn't there yet. All right? B is for brain that exploded. No, it's not. Does this make sense a little bit more now? You thought A was before C. No, C had to have been there first for A to go through. Is anybody still confused on this part right here? Waiting on somebody. All right, so I thought C was after A because it's over it. But A goes through C. So in order for it to be able to go through C, C had to have already been there before A happened. Nope, it has to already be there before it can cut through it. It's like paper. If you're going to cut through paper, the paper has to be there first before you can cut it. Right. All right, so if we don't have any more questions, and if you do, that's fine. We can answer them there. We have the Venn diagram part that needs to be done. We did this part together, and then we have review games that are just kind of question style to help you get ready for your quiz that needs a screenshot. Once you are finished with this, you are going to turn it into this assignment. Good old RDJ. It's going to go get turned in right here, and then you will be done for the day. If you have questions and you are watching this, please send me a message on in the Canvas inbox and I will answer them for you.